Sabrine's big journey. The world is a world of tears, and the burdens of mortality touch the heart. Robert Fagles. Today, Classroom 36 was taking place in a vast subterranean cavern, famous for being a gateway to the underworld. Sabrine was for once feeling unhappy and distinctly uneasy. She couldn't get out of her mind that look on Jackie's face in the canteen when she told her they were best friends in this world. The look was one of absolute horror and revulsion. It had shaken Sabrine to the core. She turned to Jackie, her best friend forever, who was sitting right beside her. "It doesn't make any sense," she said. "We are such brilliant friends. I couldn't bear to be without you. Yet in that other world, you are so mean to me. You hate me." Jackie shrugged. "I don't have any contact with that other Jackie." Sabrine frowned. "That's the whole problem. If you could speak to yourself in the other world, this would all end." Jackie frowned back. "But I can't. I don't exist in the other world. The real Jackie does, but I don't." Sabrine frowned again. "I know. It's such a strange situation." Jackie swung her leg back and forward. "Isn't there a way to fix this? You and the other primaries have such powerful minds. Can't you do something?" Sabrine was pensive. "Do you mind being a secondary?" Jackie shook her head. "I don't experience anything odd. I just know that I'm in this world only, whereas you are in two worlds. I don't know if I'd like to be in two worlds. It must be very strange for you. Your life is much odder than mine. I don't know how you can handle it." Sabrine nodded. "Being a primary is very weird, that's for sure." She looked around wistfully. "You would think that being a primary would give me the power to do something about all of this. Why can't I make things right?" "Can't you go and see someone?" Jackie asked. "Like some expert in sleep and dreams. Some sleep god, maybe." Sabrine jumped up. "That's it. You're so brilliant, Jackie. I need to go to see Sleep." Jackie looked at her and gave a little, half-worried smile. Sabrine closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, she was in the hollow mountain of sleep, crossing a great bridge separating light sleep from deep sleep. She recalled what the goddess Hera had once said. "Iris, most faithful carrier of my words, go quickly to the heavy halls of sleep." Sabrine now felt like Iris, the rainbow goddess, clothed in her many colors, clothed into Ovid, as Sabrine recalled, had written. Iris donned her 1,000-colored robe, and tracing her watery bow on the sky, she searched out, as ordered, the palace of that king, hid under cloud. There is a deeply cut cave, a hollow mountain, near the Sumerian country, the house and sanctuary of drowsy sleep. Phoebus can never reach it with his dawn, midday or sunset rays. Clouds mixed with fog and shadows of the half-light are exhaled from the ground. No waking cockerel summons Aurora with his crowing. No dog disturbs the silence with its anxious barking, or goose cackling more alert than a dog. No beasts or cattle or branches in the breeze. No clamor of human tongues. Their still silence dwells. But out of the stony depths flows Lethe's stream, whose waves, sliding over the loose pebbles, with their murmur, induce drowsiness. In front of the cave mouth, a wealth of poppies flourish, and innumerable herbs, from whose juices dew-wet night gathers sleep and scatters it over the darkened earth. There are no doors in the palace, lest a turning hinge lets out a creak, and no guard at the threshold. But in the cave's center, there is a tall bed made of ebony, downy, black-hued, spread with a dark gray sheet, where the god himself lies, his limbs relaxed in slumber. Around him, here and there, lie uncertain dreams, taking different forms, as many as the ears of corn at harvest, as the trees bear leaves, or grains of sand are thrown shore. As a primary, Sabrine was able to recreate this whole scene. She was now Iris in the House of Sleep. She thought again of Ovid's words. When the nymph entered, and with her hands brushed aside the dreams in her way, the sacred place shone with the light of her robes. The god, hardly able to lift his eyes heavy with sleep, again and again, falling back, striking his nodding chin on his chest, at last shook himself free of his own influence, and resting on an elbow asked her, for he knew her, why she had come. "Oh, great god, sleep," Sabrine said. "Explain to me the mysteries of sleep and dreams." Sleep, yawning, said, "Precious daughter of sleep, you are one of the primaries. You already know all the secrets you seek. You just need to access them. You are blocking this knowledge. You have, so to speak, covered it with a vast shroud of night and sleep." Sabrine, even though she was trying to listen as carefully as she could to sleep, started to nod off. Anyone near sleep was subjected to the most intense sleep field. No one could resist it for long. Sabrine, feeling herself no longer able to withstand the power of sleep, sensing the profound drowsiness creeping over her body and into every pore, fled and recrossed the grand arched bridge by which she had entered. As she reached the region of light sleep, full of poppies, she heard a voice shouting to her. The voice seemed far away, but the very next second, a man with bat wings was standing right in front of her. "I am Morpheus, leader of the 1,000 sons of sleep. I am the Dream Master, and you, as a primary, are one of my finest agents in the world. Your work is awesome." Sabrine, in Iris's iridescent dress, found it turning pure scarlet to reflect her own blushes. She remembered what Ovid said. From a throng of 1,000 sons, his father roused Morpheus, a master craftsman and simulator of human forms. No one else is as clever at expressing the movement, the features, and the sound of speech. He depicts the clothes and the usual accents. He alone imitates human beings. A second son becomes beast, or bird, or long snake's body. The gods call him Aislos, the mortal crowd Phobodor. The third, of diverse artistry, is Aphantasia. He takes illusory shapes of all inanimate things: earth, stones, rivers, trees. These are the ones that show themselves by night to kings and generals. The rest wander among citizens and commoners. Old Somnus passed them by, choosing one of all these brothers, Morpheus, to carry out the command of Iris, daughter of Thomas, and relaxing again into sweet drowsiness, his head drooped, and he settled into his deep bed. Morpheus had been chosen to help Iris, and now, it seemed, to help Sabrine. "We have been expecting you," Morpheus said. "You are the chosen one." Sabrine gulped and looked quizzically at Morpheus. "Chosen for what?" "You are the dream healer. Your task is to fix the broken dream." "I'm the what now? What do you mean by broken dream?" "Generations ago, humanity stopped dreaming. You and the other 11 primaries in classroom 36 are here to restore the human dream, to let everyone dream again." "Who broke the dream?" Sabrine asked. "My brothers, Phobodor and Aphantasia. They rebelled against our father Somnus, the great god Sleep. They wanted to disrupt normal sleep, to create a new humanity that they could rule over. Just then, there was a huge fluttering of wings, and Morpheus's 2 rebellious brothers appeared, swooping down from high up. Morpheus, startled, shot upwards and flew away, furiously pursued by his brothers. Sabrine shook her head. What was she supposed to do now? She walked over the poppy fields until she came to 2 extraordinary gates, side by side. The dream gates. They were enormous and spectacular. One was made of polished horn, and the other of shining ivory. Sabrine immediately remembered words by Penelope in Homer's Odyssey. Stranger, dreams verily are baffling and unclear of meaning, and in no wise do they find fulfillment in all things for men. For two are the gates of shadowy dreams, and one is fashioned of horn, and one of ivory. Those dreams that pass through the gate of sawn ivory deceive men, bringing words that find no fulfillment. But those that come forth through the gate of polished horn bring true issues to pass when any mortal sees them. But in my case, it was not from thence, methinks, that my strange dream came. In Greek, horn is related to fulfill, and ivory to deceive. Sabrine racked her brain for more about these mysterious gates. She remembered important lines from Virgil's Aeneid. Two gates the silent house of sleep adorn. Of polished ivory this, that of transparent horn. True visions through transparent horn arise. Through polished ivory past deluding lies. Of various things discoursing as he passed, Anchises hither bends his steps at last. Then, through the gate of ivory, he dismissed his valiant offspring and divining guest. The hero Aeneas, accompanied by the Chamaean Sibyl, had visited the underworld, where one of the shades they met was Aeneas's dead father, Anchises. The original idea was that true dreams were sent to the world via the gate of horn, and people received false dreams via the gate of ivory. If living people were in the underworld, what gate should they exit by? In the Aeneid, Aeneas and the Sibyl left by the gate of ivory, the gate of falsehood. Was that because as living beings, they should not have been in the underworld at all? Were they the false dead? So they must exit by the false gate. Another idea was that false dreams occurred before midnight, and true dreams after midnight. So if Aeneas and the Sibyl left before midnight, the gate of horn was closed, and the gate of ivory open, so they had no choice about exiting through the gate of falsehood. Yet another idea was that the real world was an illusion, a bad copy of the true real world, which was Plato's sublime domain of forms. So to return to the world above was to return to a false dream. Or did Virgil mean that the entire Aeneid was to be taken as a false dream, a mere fancy of the imagination? Some said that Aeneas and the Sibyl left by the false gate because they weren't falsa insomnia, false dreams, but rather because they resembled false dreams since they were living people in the land of the dead, returning to a world of falseness, a warped reality. Sabrine squinted at these two gates. They were the key to the whole mystery. She was sure of it. She needed some help with all of this. A name leapt into her mind. Tiresias. Tiresias was an extraordinary seer. Persephone, the queen of the underworld, specially granted Tiresias the retention of his prophetic powers after his death. While all the other souls around him faded away into oblivion, he kept his wits about him, the ultimate blessing and curse. Tiresias was the one with whom all the necromancers wanted to communicate. Tiresias gave guidance to great Odysseus, king of Ithaca. Who better to consult regarding the nature of the awesome dream gates? Sabrine recalled what Homer wrote in the Odyssey. You must visit the house of dread Persephone and of Hades, and there seek counsel from the spirit of Theban Tiresias. The blind seer's thought is wakeful still, for to him alone, even after death, Persephone has accorded wisdom. The other dead are but flitting shadows, and when you have sailed through the river Oceanus, you will see before you a narrow strand and the groves that are Persephone's, the tall black poplars, the willows with their self-wasted fruit. Then beach the vessel beside deep eddying Oceanus and pass on foot to the dank domains of Hades. At the entrance there, the stream of Acheron is joined by the waters of Pyrphlegethon and a branch of Styx, Cocytus, and there is a rock where the two loud roaring rivers meet. Then, Lord Odysseus, you must do as I enjoin you. Go forward and dig a trench a cubit long and a cubit broad. Go round this trench, pouring libation for all the dead, first with milk and honey, then with sweet wine, then with water, and sprinkle white barley meal above, then with earnest prayers to the strengthless presences of the dead. You must promise that when you have come to Ithaca, you will sacrifice in your palace a calfless heifer, the best you have, and will load a pyre with precious things, and that for Tiresias and no other you will slay, apart, a ram that is black all over, the choicest in all the flocks of Ithaca. When with these prayers you have made appeal to the noble nations of the dead, then you must sacrifice a ram and a black ewe. Bend the victims' heads down towards Erebos, but turn your own head away and look towards the waters of the river. At this, the souls of the dead and gone will come flocking there. With commanding voice, you must call your comrades to flay and burn the 2 sheep that now lie before them, killed by your own ruthless blade, and over them to pray to the gods, to resistless Hades and dread Persephone. As for yourself, draw the keen sword from beside your thigh. Then, sitting down, hold back the strengthless presences of the dead from drawing nearer to the blood until you have questioned Tiresias. Then, King Odysseus, the seer will come to you very quickly to prophesy the path before you, the long stages of your travel, and how you will reach home at last over the teeming sea. Sabrine closed her eyes and summoned Tiresias from the underworld. The old man seemed startled when he immediately appeared in front of her, right beside the gate of ivory. "Who calls me forth?" he asked. "Why have you brought me to the halls of sleep?" "My name is Sabrine," the schoolgirl said. "Sabrine?" Tiresias's eyes, blind as they were, opened wide. "You are the prophesied one." "What?" Tiresias smiled. "I am beginning to understand. You do not yet know your powers." He turned to the gate of ivory. "One gate fell and one stood," the prophecy said. "Only with the rise of a new gate could hope be reborn." He bowed. "I can tell you nothing more. You are the prophesied one, so everything else is up to you." He vanished back to the underworld. Sabrine was shocked. Why did people keep saying she was the prophesied one? She walked round the dream gates, these 2 astonishing structures, maybe the strangest in all existence, more powerful than any stargates, over and over again. She asked the same question. How could you ruin the world of dreams? She knew that humanity now, but not in the past, suffered from aphantasia. It was somehow as if the ability to dream had been switched off. These 2 gates controlled dreaming, so had Phobeter and Phantasos sabotaged them. In that case, why couldn't Morpheus, Lord of Dreams, fix them? Sabrine placed her hand on the gate of horn and felt a kind of charge of electricity running through her body. She realized immediately that nothing was wrong with the gate, so why wasn't it working? It was showing no activity at all, even though it was fully functional. It hadn't fallen, except into disuse. She went round to the other gate, maybe the stranger of the 2, maybe the strangest thing in the universe, and put her hand on it. The same thing as before happened. Absolutely nothing was wrong with this gate. In fact, she could feel tremendous activity surging through it. Unlike the other gate, which wasn't being used at all, she could tell that this gate of dreams was being used all the time, 24/7. It never stopped. It wouldn't stop. What was going on? The 2 brothers had sabotaged dreams in some way, but how? Sabrine was baffled. If the dream gates were still working, dreams must still be going out. So why was humanity not dreaming? Where were the dreams going? Who was receiving them? She now knew that one gate was working flat out, and the other not at all. But that still meant that humanity ought to be dreaming. Why wasn't it? It took Sabrine a long hour, while walking round and round the dream gates, to finally work out the answer. The 2 brothers had been so clever. They had clearly outsmarted their older brother Morpheus, or so it seemed. Their genius trick was to use the very nature of the gate of false dreams to sabotage dreams. They sent out a universal false dream to every human to tell them that they couldn't dream, and so no one did. And yet they were dreaming. They were dreaming that they couldn't dream. They were so convinced by their false dream, the one that said that they weren't capable of dreaming, that they couldn't accept any true dreams. So the Gate of Horn had fallen into total disuse, while the Gate of Ivory was being used all the time, broadcasting at all times everywhere to everyone. Sabrine glanced up and saw Morpheus flying towards her through the shadows and darkness with his noiseless wings. Morpheus alighted beside her. He glanced at the remarkable gates of dreams, and then back at Sabrine. "It has been chaos here," he said. "You know, ever since Phobidor and Phantasos managed to stop humanity from dreaming. We're in a dream civil war." He gazed sadly again at the two towering dream gates. "Lacrimae rerum," he said. Sabrine knew that phrase, the tears of things. It's what the Trojan prince Aeneas said when he gazed at a mural he found in a Carthaginian temple, depicting famous battles of the Trojan War and showing the deaths of many of his friends and countrymen. The scene moved him to tears. Aeneas said, "Sunt lacrimae rerum et mentem mortalia tangent." There are tears for things, and mortal things touch the mind. "You've worked out how they did it, haven't you?" Morpheus said, scrutinizing Sabrine's bright face. "I have a good idea," she replied. "They made everyone believe they couldn't dream, using a dream." Morpheus smiled. "Actually, they made everyone forget that they could dream. The dream they constructed was ingenious. It was devised in the Lethe Valley, where the Lethe, the river of forgetfulness, flows, and where souls about to be reborn assemble to take the waters and forget their past lives. Phobidor and Phantasos created a Lethe dream. The more that people dreamt this dream, the more they forgot that they could dream, even though, as you said, they were actually dreaming all the time, dreaming of not dreaming. Humanity became like the dreary souls that wandered the gray asphodel fields, with no internal thoughts and images, no dreams. They remind me of the Cimmerians who neighbor this land." Homer wrote, "The vessel came to the bounds of eddying Oceanus, where lie the land and city of the Cimmerians, covered with mist and cloud. Never does the resplendent sun look on this people with his beams. Dismal gloom overhangs these wretches always. Arriving there, we beached the vessel, took out the sheep, and then walked onwards beside the stream of Oceanus until we came to the place that Circe had told us of. Today's humans seem to me to be covered with mist and cloud. They have ceased to be proper humans. Phobidor and Phantasos succeeded in changing the human condition by changing the nature of dreams." "Couldn't you fix the situation?" Sabrine asked. "The only way to reverse the falsehood was via the truth, but the Gate of Horn couldn't be used because people's minds rejected all dreams except the false Lethe dream." Sabrine snapped her fingers. "So you bypassed the whole thing. You created a new gate." Morpheus nodded. He flapped his bat wings. "You, Classroom 36 was the new gate. You were the chosen one, and the other 11 girls were your backups. No one else could dream properly, whereas you girls dreamt nearly all the time, and such dreams, the best dreams of humanity thus far." Sabrine smiled. "They really are. I love them. Everyone should get to dream like this." "That's the idea," Morpheus said. "Humans now are like the hordes that walk through the dreamless flowers of asphodel and congregate at the Lethe. The rites of Lethe are necromantic rites," Statius wrote. "And when Tiresias heard the branches crackling in the flames and the grim piles roaring, for the burning heat surges before his face, and the fiery vapor fills the hollows of his eyes, he exclaimed, and the pyres trembled, and the flames cowered at his voice. Abodes of Tartarus, an awful realm of insatiable Moors. Death, Thanatos, and thou, most cruel of the brothers, Hades, to whom the shades are given to serve thee, and the eternal punishments of the damned obey thee, and the palace of the underworld throw open in answer to my knowing the silent places and empty void of stern Persephone, and send forth the multitude that lurk in hollow night. You know, Sabrine, to me it's as if humanity has come under the control of necromancers and been turned into creatures of the underworld. They are the living dead now, almost literal zombies. Sabrine shuddered. She had often thought that the other girls in her school were like shuffling zombies, living not even in a half-world but a non-world, and certainly a monochrome world. These poor people had no internal images and no internal sounds. Nothing was going on inside. It was all happening outside. The 12 girls of classroom 36, by total contrast, hardly interacted with the external world at all. They were all about internality. Sabrine thought of an old quote by Seamus Heaney. There are tears at the heart of things. Actually, she thought, there are dreams at the heart of things. All things are dreams. Can humanity be humanity without dreams? A human is a dreamer, and reality itself is a grand dream. Sabrine turned to Morpheus. What are we to do now? How are we to make this right? How are we to fix the world? Fix humanity? We need to get humanity back to what it was, with minds full of internal sights and sounds and colors and buzzing activity. Morpheus wrapped his great wings around Sabrine. It's up to you, Sabrine. You are the chosen one. I made you the most powerful dreamer ever, even more powerful than I am, precisely so that you could dream up the answer. Dreams are the greatest power in the universe, so there's nothing to stop you. Morpheus soared up into the air, and in a flash, Sabrine found herself back in dream class, sitting next to Jackie again. No time had passed. The great thing about dreams is that they can be outside space and time if you want them to be. You can go into other dream dimensions and compartments, and then come back to where you were before you left. Jackie, Sabrine exclaimed. I know why you're disconnected from the Jackie in the other world.